So you've got 6 bolts here you have to hit with PB Blast before you start this job, because they're probably going to be factory bolts, so you've probably never loosened. These 2 here on either side of the car for the flange clamps that hold the mufflers on, and 4 just before the H-pipe, which I failed to get video of for some unknown reason. You're only going to loosen those, but these ones here you see me spraying, you're going to take completely off. Make sure you put a drop cloth or a catch pan of some kind underneath you so you don't drip all over the driveway like I am. So I chose to not use power tools just to see that it can be done without them. And it can, but it may make it easier, especially if you're in an area where you do have some sort of corrosion on there or some buildup. You might need to get some tools and some extra leverage on there somehow. So you see me reaching for my gloves here because I got PB Blast all over my ratchet, and you saw me fumbling with it as well. The gloves just make it a little bit easier to keep a grip on it, even though it's covered in lubricant. So these are some long bolts. Took quite a bit of time just simply winding the threads down to get them out. So be patient. You can see this was on the other side of here holding it. Once it gets loose, it just starts to spin on its own and does not come off. I know it's hard to see what I'm doing here, but you can kind of see I'm tapping on that clamp. And that clamp is welded to the muffler side of the pipe. So when you pull the muffler off, that clamp comes with it. Now you can either break that off or do whatever. I just left it on there because the Corsas actually come with new clamps. Had to get an extension here just to give myself a little bit more room to work with the socket and the ratchet. Okay, so you do want to keep these bolts for the flanges because you're going to be putting them back on. You do use the original bolts. So my camera's sound just cut right here. Not sure why. So these bolts for the flanges are 13 millimeters. I should have mentioned that earlier. Forgot to. So after you loosen those, they want you to take down your track bar brace or your track bar brace. Those are 15 millimeter bolts. I know the view here isn't real good. It's my first time using a GoPro strapped to my head. I'm still learning all that. You get a better view of it when I put them back on. I do have aftermarket track bar and an aftermarket brace up there. And these are a bit tighter because I put them in. Just pull this down out of the way. So now we're going to go remove the hangers on the back. I don't know why I didn't get in video here, but I put some white lithium grease on the tips of the hangers and tried to push them in as much as I could to kind of help give it some lubrication to push them out. You're basically using the channel locks, one end on the rubber piece of the hanger and the other end on the hanger that's actually attached to the muffler. I think you can get a better view of it when I do the other side, if I remember correctly. Yes, you do get a better view of it. Those rubber hangers are actually dirt cheap. They're like $3 or $4 off Rock Auto. I didn't replace them because these are in great shape. So I found the hangers, both front and back, to be one of the harder parts. Just be persistent; they'll eventually come off. With these back ones, just push them up and out of the way. Unless you're replacing them, then obviously take them off. Holy crap. So these hangers were kind of a bitch to get off on the front. You just kind of have to do some twisting and turning. This clamp here, you just simply pry it off. It's kind of difficult to get to. Get your fingers underneath and pull it off. Once you get it off, you can see it comes apart. Fortunately, I got a bad angle. So the bolts you loosen on the H pipe allow you to drop the back half of the mid pipe about 3 or 4, maybe even 6 inches. This will allow you to have the play you need in the mufflers to take it out. If you don't loosen those, you're never going to get these out. I tried, trust me. You have to loosen the H pipe bolts. As you can see, the Corsas are actually significantly smaller. And about half the weight. So this is anti-seize I'm putting on the bolts for the clamps, the flange clamps for the actual mufflers. Now, Corsas actually came with a couple little packets of them, but I have my own little thing with a brush on it, just so much easier to use. The purpose of the anti-seize is to keep the bolts from seizing so you can get them off easier later. I don't think you need anywhere near that much. It is important to note that Corsa's instruction booklets make it very clear to not get this on the mufflers, as it can apparently stain the finish. So I was very careful not to. I didn't, and I don't have any stains on the finish. So I'm putting some lithium grease on the hangers on the new Corsa mufflers. You'll notice, or maybe you might not notice depending on how well I got the video earlier, that there's no little ball on the end of these. So they slide into the front hangers super easy compared to how hard the stock ones were to get out. You can see the hangers right there, actually, that black bar towards the top. Those, by the way, are about $80 a piece if you want to replace those. But the hangers just slide in from the front of the car. You pull back, like I'm doing here. They slide right in place. Take a little bit of effort because it's not, they don't fit loosely, they fit snugly. But you don't have to get around that ball on the tip. You can see they slid in. Now you get the back one on. The hangers are much easier to get on than they are to get off. And you gotta get the muffler back aligned to it. And you're going to pretty much do kind of a half-ass job of aligning this and getting the clamp on it first, because you got to get the other muffler on and then tighten up those bolts by the H-pipe before you can fully tighten this up. That would be the garbage man you hear in the background. The ratchet was much easier to hold on to, and it didn't have a bunch of PV blast on it. Clear shot of what I'm doing. So I wasn't wiping it off of there. Obviously, I was using a rubber glove. This can help to wipe it off. I was just kind of spreading it around to make it easier and more evenly spread. Messy workspace, messy workspace. So you see here, that's the end of my track bar support hanging down. The other end of it is just the round end of the bolt, so it moves kind of freely. This is a little bit of a hassle to get these all aligned right, but you know, just like when you're taking everything apart, be persistent. I mean, it's all steel. Ours are pretty good, you're not going to break anything. You can see I just pushed that right in there. Now, some of you might have a slightly different view. You see those two bars coming up underneath my axle. Those are pretty much underbody supports because it's a convertible. It's not a coupe, so it's got that extra support underneath. It actually makes it a little bit more difficult to work on. Here's these the H-pipe bolts I was talking about earlier that I failed to videotape being loosened. But now I'm sitting here tightening them. And then once those are tight, you can go back to the back and tighten all those up nice and secure. These are 13s, just like the flange bolts are. I did not have the car up quite enough for me to be able to crawl underneath there. So I added the extension to kind of give myself a little bit more leverage on it. So I'm basically just tightening up the flange bolts here, get them as tight as you can get them by hand, and that's good enough. You do want to go back up after a week or two and tighten them up again, just to make sure they do kind of come loose. Kind of the same thing you want to do with any work you do on your car, really. Just go back and double check. So putting the track bar brace back up, just two 15s. Want to get these nice and tight. You do need an extension for these just to be able to get in there and get to them with all the other stuff in your way. I suppose it might have been easier to take that sway bar link off. So those stickers you can see on the new Corsa exhaust are the manufacture date. They were manufactured the day after I ordered them. So I guess when you order them, they're made to order. It's kind of cool. Sometimes you gotta change position just to get a good grip on things.